The candidate I had to interview for this week was my high school bully. So I work for this pretty big tech company. Been there like 5 years now, and I've actually moved up to a management position, which is kind of wild considering where I started. Anyway, last month my boss pulls me into this meeting and tells me we're building a whole new team and I need to help with interviews. Cool, whatever. I've done it before. But this time it's super last minute. So I'm basically just doing the interviews and writing up what I think about each person. Oh, and the company just started doing in-person interviews again after doing everything over Zoom. So the whole process is kind of a mess. I'm going through the list of people I gotta interview on Tuesday, just skimming names and resumes when I see it. Brad Hutchins. I literally froze. Like my hand just stopped scrolling. It had been over 15 years since high school, but that name was burned into my brain. I kept telling myself it couldn't be the same guy, right? There's probably tons of Brad Hutchins out there, but I pulled up his LinkedIn, and there he was. Same face, just older. The guy who made my entire high school experience absolute hell. For context, Brad was your classic jock bully type. Football team, popular, the whole deal. And me? I was this overweight theater kid who somehow ended up in AP Calculus and AP Chemistry. I wasn't cool, I wasn't athletic, and Brad made sure I knew it every single day. He'd knock my books out of my hands in the hallway, make pig noises when I walked past, steal my lunch and throw it in the trash. One time he literally pantsed me in front of the entire cafeteria during lunch. I went home sick that day and didn't come back for 3 days. Those were genuinely the worst years of my life, and Brad was like the main villain of that story. So Tuesday comes around and I'm sitting in the conference room trying to keep my hands from shaking. The door opens and in walks Brad. He's wearing this fancy suit, got his resume folder, big smile on his face. At first he doesn't recognize me at all. He shakes my hand, sits down, starts doing the whole professional interview thing. I'm just sitting there trying to process that this is actually happening. Then like 5 minutes in, I see it click in his head. His eyes go wide for just a second and he goes, "Wait, did you go to Riverside High?" I just nodded. And this dude's whole face lights up like we're old friends or something. "Oh man, I thought you looked familiar. We had what, English together? How crazy is this? English together. We didn't have English together. What we had was him shoving me into lockers between classes and calling me names I don't even want to repeat." But I just smiled and played along. Yeah man, small world. The interview continued and honestly, Brad was pretty average. His resume looked okay. He had the right experience. But when I asked him technical questions, he gave these mediocre answers that weren't bad, but weren't impressive either. He kept trying to make these inside jokes like we were buddies, talking about the old days and remember when. Remember when what, Brad? When you made me hate going to school? At the end, he actually stood up, gave me this weird bro hug thing, and said with a wink, "You'll put in a good word for me though, right? Since we go way back?" I laughed and told him I'd do my best. I went home that night and couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about sophomore year when Brad and his friends cornered me after play practice and destroyed my backpack. Or junior year when he started a rumor that I was selling answers to tests and I almost got suspended. I've been in therapy, I've worked on myself, I've literally built a whole new life. But sitting across from him in that conference room dragged me right back to being that scared 15-year-old kid. Yesterday was the deadline to submit all my interview reviews. I sat down at my computer and opened Brad's file. I wrote that his technical knowledge was severely lacking and that he struggled to answer basic questions about the role. I mentioned that his experience didn't actually align with what we needed for the position. And then I added a paragraph about how he attempted to leverage a personal connection to influence the hiring decision, specifically mentioning that he assumed our acquaintance from high school would guarantee him special treatment, which showed poor professional judgment. I submitted it, and immediately my stomach dropped. I'm not that kid anymore. I'm 33 years old. I'm successful. I've got my life together. But for some reason, seeing Brad's face brought back every awful feeling from high school, and I let it control me.